Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're so glad you're joining us today. Based on the materials you've provided, your notes, and the research we've pulled together, we're unpacking a truly gripping personal story. The real-life drama of Angelina Nissan. It really is something. It's a journey centered around family, money, betrayal, and this seemingly ordinary red binder that became an extraordinary weapon of truth.
Absolutely. It's quite the story.
Imagine this. It's Christmas morning, a room that should be filled with warmth, but instead there's this chilling family vote to kick one member out.
Yeah.
Then a red binder slides under the tree, stopping everyone cold. We're going to dive into how this happened, what secrets that binder held, and what insights we can really extract from Angelina's powerful journey.
It's a fascinating and at times heartbreaking look at how financial relationships can become deeply, almost invisibly intertwined with emotional ones. What happens when the lines of genuine love and, calculated expectation become so blurred they're almost invisible?
Right.
Our deep dive into your sources today will reveal the intricate layers of a family dynamic where generosity was systematically exploited and how one person found the courage to reclaim their life. It's quite remarkable.
We'll follow Angelina Nissan's path from being what she believes was the glue holding her family together, to becoming, essentially, their unwitting cash machine, and ultimately to her powerful act of reckoning and rebirth. You'll hear how she finally stood up to a family that, for far too long, saw her as little more than a source of funds. Let's get right into it.
Okay.
So our story begins with Angelina Nissan at 34, a financial analyst from Chicago's South Side. For 8 long years, she genuinely believed she was the linchpin, the glue holding her family together, diligently paying bills and funding dreams for her mother's sister and brother. But what was her early life like? What sort of shaped this sense of responsibility?
Well, Angelina's childhood on the South Side was certainly challenging. They lived in a cramped bungalow, and a significant turning point came when she was 15. Her dad left, just gutting the family as he pursued a new life out in Phoenix. Her mother, Clara, who was a nurse, she underwent this profound shift. The sources describe her warmth being replaced by a calculating edge after the divorce. She later remarried Tom Reynolds, a quiet auto mechanic, described as steady but spineless. This family void really impacted Angelina.
And despite that upheaval, Angelina just threw herself into school, didn't she?
Yeah.
Almost desperate to fill that void.
Yeah, she did.
She was the kid who stayed up late memorizing formulas, joined every club, and really clawed her way to a full ride at Northwestern's business school. A huge achievement.
Absolutely huge.
When she gave her high school valedictorian speech, her mother offered a tight smile. But Angelina saw this glint in her eyes she didn't understand then, like she was sizing up a lifeline. It makes you wonder how early the seeds of this dynamic were planted. And what about her siblings, Sophie and Noah? How did they fit into this unfolding story?
Well, they certainly played their parts. Sophie, 5 years younger, was described as the golden girl, all charm and Instagram filters. She had a knack for attention, though she'd apparently been marked by bullies. Then there was Noah, 7 years junior, Angelina's junior, the baby, consistently coddled and, aimless, seemingly expecting the world to just bend his way. These individual traits would become pretty significant later on, as Angelina's resources became central to their lives.
So after all that hard work, by age 22, Angelina lands this amazing job at a top Chicago financial firm, pulling in $80,000 a year.
Which was huge back then for someone from her background.
Absolutely. A fortune for a Southside kid, a real success story. She must have felt like she truly made it, but that's when, according to your sources, the calls for money really began, right?
Exactly. The financial strain started subtly, almost innocuously. Her mom needed $3,000 for a leaky roof. Sophie's car died. That was another $2,500 expense. And Noah, of course, wanted $1,800 for some surefire tech course. Angelina, always believing family came first, sent the money, no questions asked. This initial willingness, fueled by love and, a sense of responsibility, it really set a dangerous precedent.
That phrase, no questions asked, it really jumps out because it sounds like a subtle but significant shift began to happen then. She was becoming their ATM, wasn't she?
Pretty much, yeah.
Her love seemingly measured in dollar signs.
Yeah.
Every family dinner, every phone call always carried this hint of need. Her promotions, rather than being celebrated for her pride and achievement, were apparently celebrated for what new raises could buy for them.
The focus shifted.
And this brings us to the famous red binder.
It does. And what's fascinating, and quite poignant really, is the innocent beginning of that red binder. Angelina started keeping receipts not out of suspicion at all.
Right as a habit.
Simply as a habit, a classic financial analyst's tick, just good practice. She was completely unaware that this binder, this meticulous record keeping, would eventually become her salvation. Wow.
It's a powerful lesson, I think, in how small routine actions can sometimes become absolutely critical down the line.
And the requests from her family just seemed to escalate from there. The source material notes her mom's voice would crack over the phone, claiming they were drowning in bills, and Angelina would transfer $5,000 for utilities without a second thought.
Just like that.
Sophie, whose influencer gigs barely covered her coffee runs, needed $10,000 for branding expenses, a new camera, a trip to Miami for content.
The influencer essentials.
Right. And Noah, always chasing the next big thing, blew through $15,000 on some crypto trading scheme that just fizzled in weeks. It's almost unbelievable, the scale of these demands.
It paints such a stark contrast in lifestyles, doesn't it? Angelina herself was living in a simple one-bedroom apartment in Logan Square, furnishing it with secondhand pieces.
While her paychecks were essentially furnishing her family's lives, her mom's remodeled kitchen, Sophie's designer bags, Noah's elaborate gaming setup, this growing disparity as the red binder kept getting thicker with $5,000 here, $8,000 there, with these promises of repayment that never came, it must have been incredibly painful to witness, let alone live through.
And then the big one hit when Angelina was 26. Her mom called, sobbing, claiming they were losing the house, the mortgage 3 months behind.
The ultimate emotional trigger.
Totally. Angelina, feeling the weight of their potential homelessness, drained her entire savings. A full $25,000 she'd scraped together for her own condo down payment to save the family bungalow. That was a monumental sacrifice.
And what's particularly painful about this, according to your sources, is the immediate aftermath. The very next weekend, Angelina visited and found a brand new flat-screen TV and this plush leather sectional in the living room.
Oh.
Her mom's flimsy excuse was Black Friday deals. But then Angelina overheard Sophie on the phone giggling about a Vegas trip her mom totally hooked me up for. Yeah. Her stomach churned, the sources say, but she stayed silent, feeling that weight of family first pressing me down. It's just a classic case of quiet enabling driven by guilt and obligation.
And it gets worse, doesn't it? As Angelina began to unravel things later, deeper, more insidious family issues came to light.
For example, Clara's opioid addiction. It had begun after a back surgery when Angelina was 20. She'd hidden it incredibly well, claiming withdrawal symptoms were for household emergencies.
Oh my gosh.
Her nursing job barely covered prescriptions, so she leaned heavily on Angelina. It was revealed later that a staggering $50,000 of Angelina's money actually went to Joliet casinos, not the house.
$50,000.
$50,000. And Tom, her husband, was described as clueless or willfully blind, which is, yeah.
Willfully blind is probably accurate.
Probably. And Sophie's spending. It was driven by this deep need for validation, $12,000 on a curated wardrobe to keep up her influencer image, all funded by Angelina.
Of course.
And Noah, spoiled by Clara's indulgence, genuinely saw Angelina's money as his birthright, blowing $20,000 on a startup that never even launched.
So by age 30, Angelina is a senior analyst earning $110,000, a really significant income. But her bank account was described as a ghost town.
Empty, despite the six-figure salary.
She canceled a Hawaii trip to cover Sophie's medical emergency, quote-unquote, and even skipped grad school to pay Noah's legal fees for a scam he swore he'd repay. At this point, the red binder wasn't just a habit anymore, was it?
No, it became a painful ledger. It now held $180,000 in transactions, literally a ledger of my love and their lies, as she put it.
Wow.
Angelina began to see their smiles not as gratitude, but as calculations. Yet she still clung to her mom's mantra, blood is thicker than water.
Which is such a commonly misused phrase.
It really is. And for our listeners, this is a crucial insight. The original saying is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which actually means chosen bonds, the bonds you make, are stronger than biological ones.
Completely changes the meaning.
Completely. This profound reframe became central to Angelina's liberation later on, and it offers a powerful lens for how many of us navigate family obligations. The fact that she didn't know the true meaning then really highlights her ingrained belief system.
So by 33, Angelina was just a shell of herself, wasn't she? Her own dreams buried under the relentless needs. She made a first attempt at setting boundaries at a Sunday barbecue, stating, "I need to focus on my future," her voice apparently shaking. What was the family's response to that initial brave step?
Oh, the backlash was instant and, frankly, quite manipulative. Clara's eyes welled up immediately, declaring, "After all I sacrificed for you." Sophie sneered, "What else do you spend money on? You're practically a nun." And Noah, smirking, added the classic line, "Family doesn't keep score." It was just complete gaslighting. Angelina left with a migraine and, predictably, another $4,000 transfer for property taxes. This moment really just underscores the intense emotional blackmail that was constantly at play.
And then came the ultimate betrayal, the one that truly sealed Angelina's resolve. It happened on Labor Day, 3 months before Christmas. Angelina arrived early at her mom's and overheard Clara, Sophie, Noah, and Tom on the patio. What did she hear?
It was chilling, just absolute chilling. Clara was saying, "Angelina's bonus is coming. We could swing that lake house in Wisconsin."
Oh my God.
Sophie laughed. "She's such a pushover. Just say emergency and her wallet opens." Noah chuckled. "I made her sign a payment plan for that startup, never paid a dime."
Unbelievable.
And then Tom, the supposedly steady one, shockingly, raised his glass to Angelina, our golden goose. This was the moment of full, undeniable clarity for Angelina. The mask was completely off.
Angelina recalled their laughter sliced through me, and she finally understood. They didn't lug me, they used me. That moment of stark realization after years of self-sacrifice, it must have been utterly devastating. How did she even move from that devastation to formulating a plan?
Well, this realization, as painful as it was, it spurred her into strategic retaliation. She called in sick and immediately sought help, finding Dr. Rachel Cohen, a therapist specializing in family trauma.
Good for her.
Dr. Cohen gently but firmly confirmed what Angelina instinctively knew. This is financial abuse. And that validation, that was critical. This isn't just a story about a family dispute. It's really a case study in recognizing and addressing systemic emotional and financial exploitation within a family unit.
So with a diagnosis and this newfound resolve, Angelina began building her case. She hired a lawyer, Susan Grant, who reviewed the now very thick red binder. What was Grant's assessment?
Grant's assessment was absolutely crucial. She said, "You've got a case. These weren't gifts. They were coerced loans."
Coerced loans. That's a key legal distinction, isn't it?
Huge. And for our listeners, it's important to understand that coerced loans, in a legal sense, means the money wasn't freely given, but rather extracted under duress or manipulation. This significantly shifts the legal standing from a simple gift to a recoverable debt. It gave Angelina real legal leverage.
And Angelina didn't stop there. She hired a private investigator.
She did, who uncovered even more damning evidence. Clara's opioid-fueled casino binges, Sophie's secret Miami condo.
Secret condo?
Yep, and Noah's unregistered business fund actually spent on a Mustang, which he'd hidden at a friend's house.
Wow. So with all of this truth armed and ready, Angelina chose her day for the confrontation. Christmas Day. When they'd all be together, it would be her reckoning.
Talk about dramatic timing.
Right. Christmas morning sparkled with fresh snow, but Angelina's heart, the sources say, was a furnace of resolve. She dressed deliberately, loaded her car with thoughtful gifts described as her last gesture of goodwill, and most importantly, the red binder, her weapon of truth. The stage was absolutely set.
You can just picture the scene.
She arrived at her mom's bungalow to a driveway packed with family cars, the house glowing with holiday cheer, a towering tree, and poinsettias, all, ironically, funded by Angelina's so-called emergency loans.
The irony is thick.
Clara's hug was cloying. Sophie's air kiss came with a smirk about Angelina's sweater. Noah gave a distracted nod, and Tom mumbled a greeting. The tension must have been palpable, at least for Angelina.
Oh, absolutely. Breakfast was Clara's signature cinnamon rolls, bacon, and mimosas. But the conversation was shallow. Gift-giving was this ritual, orchestrated by Mom. Angelina received a tacky mug, a Starbucks card, and a scarf literally from Clara's own closet.
Well, that's rough.
While she gave thoughtful, personalized gifts to them, the reactions, as described in your sources, were tepid, their discomfort palpable. They clearly knew something was off but had no idea what was about to hit them.
And then the family actually made their move, preempting Angelina's plan. Sophie cleared her throat, her voice sharp, announcing, "We need to talk, Angelina. We voted as a family. You're out. You're too controlling with your money, making us feel guilty." And Clara, ever the victim, added, "It's for the best, sweetheart." It was this preemptive strike, a complete dismissal.
Unbelievable timing. But this was the pivotal moment, wasn't it? The ultimate ironic trigger. Angelina, instead of reacting defensively, calmly pulled the red binder from her bag, placed it deliberately beneath the branches of the Christmas tree. Her steady command, open it. She locked eyes with Clara, whose mask just slipped to reveal pure fear. The room, as described in the sources, stilled.
And the shocking reveal from the red binder came next, Angelina declared. 7 years of receipts, every loan, every gift, every emergency you begged for. $253,842 worth.
That number, just staggering.
She then opened the binder, revealing a meticulously organized spreadsheet of transactions right there for everyone to see.
And the specific, undeniable evidence was just laid bare. Noah's face reportedly paled when Angelina showed him bank statements of the $20,000 that bought that Mustang, parked at a friend's house to hide it. Totally. Sophie's flush deepened as Angelina laid out photos of her Miami condo, bought with Angelina's $15,000 mortgage help, plus receipts for $12,000 in cosmetic procedures, explicitly not medical emergencies.
The lie is unraveling.
Completely. Then Angelina turned to Clara, her voice low. Your opioid addiction, Mom? $50,000 of my money went to Joliet casinos, not the house. Tom gasped. Clara denied it vehemently, but Angelina produced casino receipts and loyalty statements directly from the binder.
The binder had it all.
Everything. And finally, the truly damning recording. Angelina played the Labor Day conversations, Sophie's laugh. She said to push over Noah's comment, never paid a dime, Tom's toast, Angelina, our golden goose.
Oh, hearing their own words.
The room just suffocated in silence, their own laughter echoing like a ghost, devastated.
The family's reaction was immediate panic, right? Sophie lunged, yelling, "You spied on us! That's insane!" But Angelina's reply was so calm, collected, "No, it's accountability." Then came the legal hammer. Angelina handed out a legal letter from Susan Grand outlining repayment terms, described as generous with no criminal charges for now. It was a clear line in the sand.
Setting the terms, Angelina delivered her ultimatum. You've got two options. Sign these, commit to therapy, and rebuild trust, or I sue for fraud. You have until New Year's. Their faces, Sophie's fury, Noah's shock, Clara's crumbling facade, Tom's dawning horror told her the truth had landed. It was just a profound shift in power dynamics right there under the Christmas tree.
Angelina's empowered exit followed. She stood, binder in hand, feeling not just pain, but a spark of relief. The chains were breaking. What a moment of liberation after years of silent suffering.
But it wasn't quite over yet, was it? As she headed for the door, Sophie stormed after her, shouting, "You can't drop that," and walk away.
Of course not.
Noah, Clara, and Tom followed, forming this kind of defensive huddle on the porch. Angelina stood firm. No more gaslighting. The binder speaks for itself. Clara tried her familiar wounded act, saying, "This is about money, isn't it? You've always kept score." But Angelina met it with sharp truth. "No, it's about respect, honesty, things you've never given me."
Good for her.
Sophie's accusation of destroying this family was met with, "You did that. I counted lying, taking, voting me out when I stopped paying," just laying it bare.
Direct.
And Tom, voice low, finally admitted, "I didn't know about the gambling, Angelina. Clara handled everything." Angelina's response was just so direct. "You chose not to ask, Tom."
Oof. Pointed.
Yeah. Noah's flimsy excuse, "The Mustang I was going to pay you back," was met with, "You lied to my face." It was just a full, unvarnished accounting on that porch.
No escape.
Clara finally broke then, tears streaming, admitting the gambling started after the divorce. Small bets then, she just couldn't stop. The impact on Sophie was clear as she gaped, asking, "The second mortgage, was that for gambling too?" This cascade of truth was precisely what Angelina had aimed for.
Angelina, seizing the moment, handed out envelopes with the repayment schedules and the therapy mandates. "These are non-negotiables," she stated firmly. "Therapy is the priority. Trust is harder to rebuild than money."
So true.
And a non-negotiable boundary. 3 months, no contact, show me actions, not promises. She walked away, the porch a fading tableau in her rear view, her heart heavy but unshackled. It sounds like this wasn't just a financial reckoning, but a complete emotional emancipation.
Absolutely. A total break.
The weeks after Christmas, as you might expect, were a storm of texts.
Angry.
Pleading, bargaining. Sophie called her a traitor. Noah offered a paltry $500. Clara begged to skip therapy. But Angelina held firm, didn't she? Backed by Susan Grant's legal weight. How did her family respond to these new, very firm boundaries? What was the immediate fallout?
Well, by February, there was significant, if varied, progress. Clara enrolled in an opioid recovery program. Her rock bottom was truly exposed. $250,000 lost to casinos, secret credit cards, a mortgaged house Tom hadn't known about.
Wow, the scale of it.
Tom, understandably shaken, gave her an ultimatum: get help or he's gone. Claire actually became sober, started teaching again, and her repayment was steady. Real change there.
Okay.
Noah, for his part, sold the Mustang, took a job at a tech repair shop, and started repaying Angelina $200 a month. Small steps, but steps nonetheless.
Right.
Sophie, however, complied only minimally. She sold her Miami condo but consistently dodged therapy, her texts apparently laced with resentment. Angelina, learning from painful experience, set hard boundaries. No money, no contact outside the agreed terms.
While her family was navigating their own paths, Angelina's personal blossoming really continued. She moved forward by buying a 2-bedroom condo in Logan Square with a balcony for her herb garden. That view of the Chicago skyline must have felt like a promise of new beginnings, a space truly her own.
Absolutely. And she didn't just build a new physical space, she built a new community and purpose. She joined a running club, her sneakers pounding the lakefront trail, and met Ryan, a high school teacher with a warm laugh, at a charity 5K.
That's lovely.
Volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit also gave her renewed purpose, teaching others to avoid the very mistakes she'd endured, turning her pain into something positive.
And through all this, deepening her self-understanding through therapy with Dr. Cohen, Angelina came to a really profound realization. Dad's abandonment made me equate money with love, a pattern she was now actively breaking. This connection between childhood trauma and adult financial patterns is such a powerful takeaway for all of us, I think.
It really is. And the red binder, remember that? Once a ledger of pain, it now held journal entries, affirmations, photos of her new life proof. She was more than their ATM. This transformation of the binder itself is just a great metaphor for her whole journey.
It really is.
Family therapy with Dr. Patel was described as raw, dissecting Dad's absence, Claire's addiction, Sophie's insecurity, Noah's entitlement. Angelina even admitted her own role in enabling them, trying to fill a void.
So, after months of this incredibly difficult work, what kind of progress was Angelina seeing within the family during therapy?
Well, Claire was sober, teaching again, and her repayment was steady, showing real commitment. Noah, grounded by his job, showed a genuine pride Angelina had never seen in him before.
That's significant for him.
Very. Sophie, though, remained the most resistant. Her therapy sessions were described as a performance, and Angelina had to grieve the sister she wanted, accepting what might never be. It's a testament to her growth, I think, that she could acknowledge that without it derailing her own healing.
Definitely. 6 months after that explosive Christmas, the first family dinner was scheduled. Angelina describes it as a true test of their growth and, importantly, her strength. It was held at a neutral location, a cozy Italian spot in the Loop. Angelina arrived early, chose a corner table, setting very clear boundaries beforehand. Neutral location, Loop restaurant, 2-hour limit, no financial talk. She decided if they pushed the old patterns, she'd name it and leave. That took immense courage.
Absolutely. And the positive signs at dinner were notable, according to the sources. Claire arrived first, her face softer, 6 months sober, and visibly proud of her progress. Noah followed with surprising enthusiasm about his IT job.
Good for him.
Sophie came late, smile tight, and Tom was subdued, but the conversation stayed light. Noah even genuinely asked about Angelina's running club. And then, the breakthrough moment, Clara shared her progress in therapy and, looking right at Angelina, admitted, "I leaned on you too much, Angelina. I'm sorry."
Wow.
Her sincerity hit Angelina, apparently like a knot loosening in my chest. Sophie remained quieter, Tom reflective.
Angelina, feeling that cautious hope, shared her condo purchase, her voice steady with pride, and they actually listened. No hints of need. At the 2-hour mark, Angelina felt something new. Cautious hope. They weren't fixed, not by a long shot, but they were trying, and importantly, she was trying too.
And as they parted, Clara hugged Angelina, whispering, "I'm proud of you." For the first time, Angelina actually believed her. That simple, genuine statement, after years of manipulation and lies, highlights the fragile but real steps towards some kind of reconciliation.
That dinner, while clearly powerful, didn't erase 8 years of pain, but it certainly planted a seed. Clara's sobriety held, Noah's steady work and repayments continued, and while Sophie remained distant and grudgingly compliant, Angelina accepted it, knowing some bridges just don't rebuild.
And Angelina emerged stronger from all this, her boundaries ironclad. Her new condo glowed with summer light, Ryan grilling on the balcony, running club friends laughing around her. She volunteered more, teaching kids on the South Side to budget, their eager faces mirroring her own rediscovered hope.
And the red binder.
The red binder, once so heavy with betrayal, now held her story. Journal entries of healing, photos of races, Ryan's smile, and a simple, powerful sticky note saying, "You are enough."
Beautiful.
The ultimate lesson Angelina learned, and one we can all take away from your sources, is that love isn't a transaction. It's mutual, respectful, chosen. The uncertainty of her family's future no longer scared her. She had built her own people. Ryan, her running crew, her nonprofit kids who loved her for who she was finally free to live her life, not just provide for others.
What an absolutely incredible journey from being a financial lifeline to literally rebuilding her entire sense of worth and self. Angelina's story, as we've seen from your sources, isn't just about money, is it? It's about the profound power of setting boundaries and the immense courage it takes to reclaim your life.
This deep dive into Angelina's experience truly challenges us to consider the true cost of unspoken family expectations and the courage it takes to redefine love, honesty, and support, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. It really prompts us to ask ourselves, what does true support look like in your relationships?
Yeah, that's the question. So, as you reflect on Angelina's journey, we encourage you to consider, how do you define love and respect in your own relationships? Boundaries are you cultivating or perhaps need to cultivate to honor your own worth?
Important questions.
Angelina's story is such a powerful reminder that we are all crafting our own stories of strength, heart, and new beginnings, and that you are enough.